Coach, I know you guys are observing the 24-hour rule, but when you go back and kind of look at how the team you performed once you had a chance to watch film, what were your impressions?
I think the one, I don't know physically, that we were always consistent, but I think mentally, emotionally, we were always pretty consistent, which kept us focused throughout the game and allowed us to, play at a pretty high level.
Coach, I think on Saturday you had either one of your highest rushing totals or your highest rushing total in Mississippi State. You've touched on that before about it. It's more a matter of the offensive line improving and you having more trust in your running backs. Is that still what you see as far as giving them more touches, them growing up?
Well, he's always got a lot of touches. I mean, he's one of the leaders in the conference as far as touches, all-purpose yards. I guess you can look it up, but it's quite impressive when you consider he doesn't return kicks. I mean, that's the easiest way to get to all-purpose yards the fastest is kickoff return. But our running back position, when you add, on the ground in the air is pretty high. And I think it'll remain that way. But I think that, the better you are on the O-line, the better your running backs are, and then the better, your quarterback is at transitioning between different things out of different sets. I think the stronger it's going to be. But the idea is not just, oh, well, we get to run it, we're going to run it all the time. I mean, there's a point where you have to make choices what you're going to do and how you're going to move the football, But it is funny to see, because at some point in time, somebody's bitching about something. They either want you to throw it more or run it more. I've actually thought about running it virtually 100% of the time one game, throwing it 100% the next game. With my luck, some punter dropped the damn ball so it'd count as a rush. And then brag about how balanced we are. Tell everybody how we're balanced. Yeah, nothing balanced about that. Balance has to do with production by position.
Will said you told him you guys weren't going to just run the ball there on that last drive in the fourth quarter. You wanted to attack Kentucky, and it worked. In your time as a coach, how much has it helped you to be aggressive when the situation calls for it?
Well, we wanted to keep the ball. We had it for 8 minutes, but you're not going to have the ball. You may not even get a first down if you're not willing to attack what the defense is giving you. So I don't think you can be afraid to throw it in those situations.
Coach, looking ahead at Arkansas, last year's game, I know it's very frustrating for you. Is there anything you can take from how Barry Odom and those guys kind of defended you last year? Do you see any carryover this year?
Well, I think they'll do some similar things. I think that, I think they'll mix it up a little more. I don't think they'll be 100% comfortable bringing 3 every time. I think they'll probably be a little more aggressive. They don't really like to blitz, though.
Mike, you kind of talked about this a little bit Saturday, but after seeing the film and watching Will's performance again, how would you grade how he's kind of developed in this system offensively specifically?
I think he's done a good job. I think he's, continued one step at a time and steadily improved. And, but along with that, and it's hard to gauge sometimes because, the improvement of the receivers and the offensive line and the running backs contribute to Will's improvement.
Coach, I know it was unfortunate for Martin Emerson to go out so early in the game Saturday with the targeting call, but Decamion Richardson filled in for him. What did you think about his play in that type of stage?
Thought he played good. I think some of those the depth and new faces we had in the secondary were pleasant surprises.
You guys have made a major improvement in converting third downs, up from 32% last year to 48% this year. How much can that improvement help, and what do you think has caused that big of an improvement on third down?
I think it's definitely beneficial. I didn't realize it was that, but because I guess I didn't feel like we started the season particularly good on third down. That's one of the key things. I mean, if you keep moving the sticks, then you get the ball, and it's a little like lottery tickets. You know, the more plays you have the ball, the more chances you have to score. So we try to do that.
John, that's Steph.
When you look at what your defense was able to do against Vanderbilt, and then this week against this Kentucky team, and really just all season, how much easier does what the defense has been able to do make you, the offense, able to move the ball, and how much pressure does it kind of take?
Say that again.
How much easier, like when your defense plays as well as it has the last few weeks, how much easier does that make for you and the offense?
Well, I thought it was huge, the turnovers. I thought the turnovers were huge, and I think the one that Charlton caught was, you know, every play in the game's important, but I did think that was kind of you know, everybody looks for the turning point, you know, and you know, that's the thing about turning points. You never know what the turning point is until the thing's over, you know. I really think that interception was kind of the turning point. You know, the one we tipped and then he caught, you know. I was hoping he'd score, but tried to. And then, yeah, I think it's critical. I think we were able to eliminate some of their possessions and generally stopped them, held a good team, if you don't count the punt return, to 10 points. So we need to, you know, and but the thing is defensively, they're just like offensively. They're sitting there on film seeing all kinds of ways that they can improve, and we've got to do that this week. We've got to focus on improvement this week.
Mike, you mentioned the mental side of it and the consistency you saw this weekend from your team. Why do you feel they were able to take that step this week from a mental aspect that maybe they weren't earlier this season?
I just think it's a growth process. I think, you know, you do it again and again and over, and you just get better at it, you know. I think one thing we've done a good job of this year is get older because, you know, I mean, woke up every day, went out there, practiced, and, you know, looky here, we're a day older, so that was helpful in the case of our team.
Steve and Robbie?
Coach, you talked a lot this year about building confidence. You've had a couple of games in a row where the offense has played pretty well. How do you guard against overconfidence when guys begin to kind of have some success? How do you kind of keep them locked into the process?
Try to just keep them focused on their job, you know, the technique. Try to lock into technique and detail, you know, and think about yourself rather than the opponent because, you know, really yourself is always the opponent. You know, how you do your job, that's the opponent.
Coach, for most of the season, there's been times where you have pre-snap penalties, holding penalties, sack, or something like that that gets you behind the chains, and the offense might not be able to get out of that. But it seemed like on Saturday, y'all were able to get over that hump and make some plays down the field, move the chains, things like that. Has that been a point of emphasis, or how have you seen Will Rogers and the offense grow in that regard?
Well, I thought we got behind him a little less, but we definitely got behind him a couple times the other night. Definitely got just battled away, tried to stay the same person, each guy, and do your job. And fortunately, we were able to dig our way out of some of them, so that was pretty good.
You mentioned the interception being a turning point. With 10 this year, you're one of the best teams in the country in forcing interceptions. Is that luck, skill on defense, or an emphasis on picks?
I think that, and we try to get better at it, but I think as our defensive line affects the quarterback, it helps generate that.
Mike, a few years ago, an Arkansas fan had started a petition that had like 1,000+ signatures about Arkansas hiring you as their head coach. From your experience coaching or even your law background, does a petition like that ever have any type of pull to affect an athletic department?
I don't know. You know, I mean, athletic departments can be quite political. You know, it's and you know, schools in general. I don't know. You'd have to really ask any of them. You know.
When you go back and watch the film of last year's game, and what kind of stands out to you? I mean, what kind of went wrong in that ball game from your recollection?
No, we never got in a rhythm at all. We never got in a rhythm. Their three could whip our five. We sometimes had stuff underneath. Our eyes weren't in the right place. We didn't put the ball in what they gave us, and then we got frustrated, and then it became a series of overcorrections.
You mentioned Arkansas a little bit before, but what kind of sticks out to you the most about them, whether it's on offense with KJ, defensively? What sticks out to you the most about the Razorbacks team this year?
They're one of the oldest. We back to back, we got two of the oldest teams, plus they have an off week, so again. And then, so I'm sure they'll be prepared. I think they've got incrementally better too.
And, a quick follow-up to that. I mean, do you have any specific Sunday traditions that you do? What does a Sunday for Mike Leach kind of look like after the game Saturday, or especially after a win?
Exhausted, sleep. Really don't eat very much. Get to the office. We meet. We evaluate the previous film, as coaches, and then get a sense of our corrections. We have a team meeting where we talk about the corrections and moving forward. Then we split up and have position meetings and special team meetings. And then we have a practice that evening. And then after the practice, I'm watching film till an early night would be 1, a late night would be 3, because you have to get through all that film, so you've got to get through all the opponent's film as fast as you can, which you won't finish, but the further you get, the better off you'll be. And then, because today's full of film and a late night, too. Sunday and Monday are the hardest.
One of the things you mentioned, thinking back on that Arkansas game, was they beat you up front with 3 down linemen. That hasn't been the case much this year. What do you think's been the difference for the offensive line to have the success that it's had 1 through 5 to protect Will and give him some time back there to make plays?
Well, I think we've gotten a little better at our technique. I think they've played together longer. I think Will gets rid of it quicker, and I think the receivers oftentimes get open quicker. In other words, I think, we're more efficient, kind of like, you or somebody asked about Will, and, the same thing with the O-line. If everybody else gets better, it makes their job easier, but I think they're contributing to that. I thought they, played pretty tough the other day and did a good job overcoming adversity.
Coach Berger told us last week when you do the freshman football practices through the week that you are the guy that does all the coaching and the quarterbacks and the receivers. Can you take us a little bit through that, kind of why you do it the way you do, and maybe this year, maybe what have you seen from some of the younger guys?
On the what now?
Well, the Sunday night football thing you do. I guess you do Pascal one on Thursday and then scrimmage on Saturday or Sunday.
We which gets all those young guys in, gets them a lot of reps, helps start teaching them the package, because during the week a lot of times they're on scout team running the other team's offense. But we'll watch the film with them and then go out there and run plays, kind of see where we're at. You always wish you had more time to coach them than we do, but, because you're kind of focused on the guys winning the game. But it is a nice little transition and kind of a good time to go out there and work the young guys, which we do.
And a quick follow-up on that, Coach. Your younger quarterbacks, Greek and Roberts, and you've had a chance to work a lot with them in camp. What kind of hand do you feel like you've been dealt with those two guys?
Pretty good. I think, just it's got to be automatic to them. I think they've got to it's one thing to know it and draw it on the board. It's another thing to become familiar with your personnel and just trigger it. And I think they're all getting better at that. Both of them have really good arms, And Sawyer has pretty good feet in the pocket, you know, kind of a quick guy. I'd say quick more than fast, but can move around a little bit too. And then they both have strong arms.
Coach, it doesn't get much attention on the stat sheet, obviously, but can you talk about the job that backs, Dylan Johnson in particular, along with Jaquavius, and Austin Williams at receiver, the blocking job they're doing, the way they're just attacking defenders?
I think, well, that's kind of an undersung skill because we do make our backs block more than nearly everybody else does. You know, I mean, other teams will have that big kind of H-back tight end looking guy that he's got blocker written all over him, but you know, those ball carrier flashy guys have to block for us. And then they do, you know, they do, of course, on Sunday as well, generally speaking. So I think it lends itself to that. And then, but yeah, they do block well. They have to pass protect. They have to occasionally run block for each other. And it really is kind of the ultimate warrior position. You have to rush the ball. You have to catch. You have to run block and pass protect, which is different. And you may be on special teams too. So it is. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment to be one of those guys.
It looks like you made the switch from Starbucks to Strange Brew Coffee. What went into that decision, and did you know that you're 2-0 since you made that switch?
Really? Well, the biggest thing is Brandon is one of the greatest purveyors of coffee in the history of the world, and so I leave these decisions to him. And then the fact they write Hail State on the cup there, I think, is a nice touch. And so we left it to him, and you know, sometimes good karma and the right people find themselves, and so that's what Brandon does. Thank you very much.